chin and he steals the farm. How did that connect by anyway?
Hello and welcome back to the Amazon European Masters for the final time this evening. I'm Viperoon, Nymaera is somewhere over there, and we're going to be looking at our final matchup of the day. Misfits Premier UCAM, both undefeated, but it can't stay that way for long.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking there's some kind of conspiracy going on here, because of course we ended up casting the other LFL versus Spanish region matchup, and we got ourselves the second one. I'm thinking, maybe it's something to do with these fans and how just so involved these fan bases are against each other, because look, they've led into this matchup and they have looked so dominant. Doesn't matter which group they're in. Looking at Misfits Premier, looking at UCAM, and they look insanely strong.
These teams look absolutely terrifying, and I'm looking at this in the game terms where one of these teams has to lose, but I'm looking at this in tournament terms. Like, if both of these teams put on a decent performance, it doesn't massively matter who wins, because you've got to imagine that both of them are going to look to make deep runs regardless.
Exactly, and you know, when we, of course, Maxlaw was on the interview earlier saying, yeah, I want to play the LFL team. They look really strong. This is going to be an incredible matchup to benchmark these teams, and that's a word I am often accused of using too much, but this is the best one for it, because we look at this and we say, right, we know that LFL is good. We know that the Superliga is good. How good are they compared to each other? Is this just going to be another French onslaught towards those finals, or are we going to have some spice put into the mix?
Hantera is a monster on Fresh. I just want to get that one out of the way. It's not in context. I just was watching that highlight reel again, and I was like, they're all just fresh hooks. Ban that champion against him, which we could well see in this final matchup of the first round robin of group stages. For me, you watch the LFL teams and they just seem to be on a different level. And yes, Spain is doing very, very well as well. But there have been a couple more issues, a couple more slight mistakes in the way that they get to their victories, and of course defeats to the LFL teams, where I don't know if a team like Misfits Premier is going to be making those kind of mistakes here.
Well, I mean, Misfits Premier have had such a dominant set of stats, and UCAM in the early game have not necessarily taken that same kind of rocket speed pace, and I'm wondering if that's going to be a very big point between these two teams and how this matchup will evolve. But it's worth noting, of course, you know, saying, okay, yeah, the LFL teams look like a level above, but these Spanish teams they're doing good too, but, you know, maybe they have made a couple of mistakes. The only loss that one of these Spanish teams has been to K-Corp. It has been to that LFL representative. Yeah. And yes, there are 3 Spanish representatives. That's worth noting as well. Only 2 from the French region. Going straight into that pick and ban, and we get to talk about it with a little bit more analysis to back us up.
Let's see what's going to be removed. Camille will be. I've got to imagine Fresh will be. Hades also had a monstrous game on the Trundle. Was really, really impactful. So whether those two will be targeted or if UCAM are confident that they've got answers, we'll have to wait and see. But there's so many big names on your screen right now. So many players who have played so well so far in this tournament. Something's going to have to give here.
I'm wondering what's going to happen with Thresh and Rakan. Of course, we've seen Hantera play both of them. The Thresh hook montage, very, very impressive. But actually, the highlight play, and again, because I was casting the Group D games the other day, I wasn't necessarily looking at what was happening between UCAM and Misfits Premier. But even then, Hantera, while I was just watching out the corner of my eye, was making the highlight plays, was popping up on my radar. I'm saying, oh heck, this guy might be the best support player in the group stage right now with all the montage plays. If you give them the playmaking tools, watch out for them. They have a huge kill participation. They have a huge impact on the game. And they're up against Jactroll, who of course has had such a great tenure themselves. This support matchup is worth its weight in gold.
It might as well be double jungle matchup, to be honest. The amount of time that these guys spend outside a lane and spend getting in the mix and making stuff happen alongside Shlatan, alongside Hades. It's crazy, and we've seen the bans coming through. The supports haven't been targeted just yet. We've got Lee Sin, LeBlanc, Ziggs, Oriana, regular suspects on the bench here, and it looks like if we get the 5-second rundown coming through, there's going to be plenty available to be taken. The Viego is an option. The Fresh is going to be banned away, thank goodness, but Viego's here, Zinzal's here, and Nymaera is also here.
I'm here, yes, I know, crazy stuff. Just adds on to those conspiracies, you know, just throws into the crossfire between these two teams. See what happens, and see what happens when all of those charms come out yet again. Rakan and Viego have been the defining picks of the group stage so far. I'm very interested to see what happens when UCAM, who have not again, push the accelerator in the early game, get to pick up one of these real priority picks and see what they can do against. It seems like the team where, regardless of what they're playing, they push that ante up in the early game. And if they get themselves something like a Ryze, early priority into scaling as well, terrifying pick in the meta if you get it into a good matchup.
I was going to say, it's absolutely massive in this meta that we've got ourselves in here at the European Masters, and the Rakan terrifying, Ryze terrifying. There's a lot of power still on the cards, right? Jungle hasn't been touched yet, and I think it's about to be, with stuff like the Zinzao, stuff like the Viego still available. You've got to imagine that's probably going to be the jungle matchup unless Hadess wants to resurrect Trundle once again.
There's the potential, and again, something like a Trundle is very good at catching out a Ryze, because Ryze is all well and good when they get to stand and free fire in that, you know, that mid-range, that 700-ish unit range where he just kind of like his arms fly everywhere and blue stuff starts coming out. But that pillar means they are locked into a fight or flight situation, and they don't really have the choice to run at that point. You get to choose what the Ryze does on your terms. Instead, it's going back towards the Diana. We haven't seen too much of that on this patch, but it allows you to, again, have another form of initiation through that jungle and another AP damage source, and it allows you to go to something like double AD solo lanes if you so wish to.
We saw the Yasuo paired up with it with some success in that last game. Of course, it didn't win in the end, but Dominant had a decent time on that pickup, or whether they want to go for the Marksman before the second round of bans. There's still plenty available. The Ezreal could get something safe, and there it is.
I mean, Ezreal, Rakan, as we talked about at that last game, it's really good for allowing the Rakan to do what they want to do best. And that is now a very safe damage carry, which is largely outside of the range of your Viegos and your Ryzes. We've seen some incredible games from Ezreal across the world, and of course in this tournament recently. So now you're looking at Misfits Premier and saying, all right, cool. Do you even have an ability to dive bot lane now if Ezreal starts getting into a safe lane? Having something like a Leona certainly helps to that degree. I actually wonder if something like an Ashe is a good pickup now to try and get yourself some more playmaking power early in terms of being able to slow push those waves and dive those turrets, which I just mentioned might be quite hard to see with that Ezreal locked in.
Could be banned away, of course, as we move into our second round of bans. The Marksman and top lane, if you got to imagine from Misfits Premier, still not being chosen. They don't want to play into a Renekton, as the solo laners for UCAM still undecided. And there's a couple of things that I'm keeping my eyes on in the second round, like the Ashe, as you mentioned. A couple of really strong top laners haven't been touched just yet, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, there's the Jace, which has actually been banned against Misfits both of their games so far. Looks like Aurelia has had too much of an impact on stream for it to be allowed through for a third time in at least in our 3 games that we've been casting. And, leaves open maybe something like that Gangplank again, which we saw do well after the initial laning phase, and gives some options for disengage play, and again to keep some people at range. Because if you can't block in a Gangplank and you're trying to sit here as the Ryze, how do you play that game against Ezreal, Rakan, and Gangplank, who get to just either keep you at range or just shut you down immediately?
Well, you have to get on top of them, or you die.
Yes.
Those are your 2 options.
You're so
really.
clever, Will.
I know, right? Look at maybe I should be the analyst.
Maybe
that's what we need. But
we'll get you back next split for that.
Yeah, the world is not ready for me trying to tell you what's going on in League of Legends games. But that is the Jace, as you said, being banned away from Agresivoo. There's still stuff like the Gnar, the safe picks, the Orb. Of course, the Kennen we've seen a decent amount of has made his way through.
Yeah, and I think Agresivoo's played the Gnar twice already, 2 out of 2 games, so there is the chance of that being quite telegraphed and you pick a Kennen into it. We've seen Kennen into Gnar a lot recently as well. Also looking at the side of Dreedy, there's Wukong available, but you don't necessarily want to blind pick that, particularly when you can nullify it with the likes of stuff like Malphite if you really want to have a bit of a tank front line. So, I mean, it's all in UCAM's hand. They have to blind pick the top lane, which is a little awkward, but maybe they could take away the Gnar themselves.
Is one of the options that they could go for, and it's kind of a safe top lane pickup, right? It's not something that you're ever going to be particularly worried about going into, and there it is, going to be secured for Dreedy, and now they have to decide what's going into this Ryze mid. Something like the Cassiopeia we've seen as a response to it before, which is a very nice
Syndra's not bad either. Syndra's not bad either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it kind of takes you back to like the season 6-7-ish meta, where you did have like this, this quadruple kind of setup of all those champions. Instead, going to a very different kind of matchup in the set, where you're just going to build up an Iron Spike whip, and you're going to say, I don't care about playing the Ryze 1v1. It's all about those early skirmishes and dunking some fools in team fights. And actually, if you lock in a cannon, that is the fool you can dunk into a team fight.
Yeah, you can send him on in and just have a great time. Just keep him from your backline, or you could also dunk him into your backline, which is funny for a whole different reason. If you're going to be Baca, you got to imagine is piloting this one, and it will be the lock-in for Agresivoo. 2 Yordles in the top side, and a couple of nice compositions we've got going on here.
They are, but Misfits Premier have potentially 3 winning lanes, which is suddenly very worrying for the side of UCAM, where you look at this Diana who can respond to plays early, and again, we kind of talked about Dominant doing that fairly well in that last game, even though in that losing game from Anthosis. But doing that with so many potential losing lanes is very, very risky, especially against a team where Misfits have been, on average, 3.5k up at 15 minutes. That's a whole hell of a lot. They have butchered early games, put people to the sword, and not really allowed them to fight back into the game. Incredibly dominant, and really living up to why the LFL as a region and the representatives that they sent are so scary.
I said yesterday to Trouble, I was like, we need to have a European Masters without LFL, just because they keep winning, and it's not fair, and someone needs to be able to beat them. UCAM, buddies, you've got this opportunity.
So we'll have like groups A, B, C, D, have a couple, and then we'll have group F for France, like just group France.
Just play against each other, and then that's it.
And the rest of us actually allowed to have fun.
Well, that was the goal of my fun new European Masters, but this is the Amazon European Masters, and we're into our final game of the evening, and our final game of the first round robin of groups. UCAM on the blue side, Misfits Premier on the red.
So, gonna have to see what's gonna happen at these level 1s. Actually, we've had some very active level 1s at this tournament so far. Largely, it's actually been from the other Spanish representatives, Movistar Riders, and then also the Vodafone Giants as well. Actually, looking at UCAM, they are the least active early game team out of the representatives that Spain has sent. Doesn't mean that they can't, of course, do it, but as we see right now, it is just a 5-man fan from both of these teams, not really interested in trading vision or looking for some kind of early advantage from a 5-man stack.
So my question here is, who's going to be the driving force in the early game? Which players, which team do you think needs to be going into the 10-15 minute mark with the advantage in order to be in a good spot?
I would rephrase that question, say who's going to survive up until the 15-minute mark, because that is the goal for UCAM, and it's all well and good being all laughs, smiles, and happy noises coming out of Gnar, but if you have to play against that Kennen who is going to be wailing on you 1v1, that is a huge issue. If you start losing all these lanes like we're saying, and so one of the things that Ryze can do as well, just wail on you early, how do you play as the Diana around that situation? Because you want to be reactive, where suddenly your lanes need you to bail them out.
And when it's bailing you out rather than making that proactive play, when it's saving a life rather than taking a life, that can feel a little bit bad for a jungler, but Hadess is a consummate professional, so we'll know all about playing that kind of supportive duty. And Hantera gonna be backing off a little bit with Rafitta as some poke coming out of the bot lane.
You know, just trying to enter the fray to try and save a life, or at least learn how to. But Hadess just gonna be on full clear duty for now. Got the one camp, and one of the big problems about Diana in some ways, and some of the bonuses as well, because your clear speed is so fast, that you know that Diana doesn't really want to do much except for hit camps for a while. We saw that Dominant was there kind of sitting, waiting around the first scuttle spawn, so at least they didn't just get double scuttled. But actually, looking at this bot lane, one of the things about... Oh gosh, that's a strong 2v2. But, sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say, it's two of these players, Jactroll and Hantera, they're known for their playmaking outside of lane. They're known for getting out and about, but you can't really imagine that these two players aren't going to want to scrap in the early stages when they're up against each other.
And that's exactly where I was like, ooh, do I let him say it? Do I say it? Because this is a really good point, because look at that first blood percentage. Both games, Jactroll has been involved with them. However, outside of that, because it might not start with Hantera for the side of UCAM, their team fights certainly have. There has been a lot on that Rakan. It certainly makes it easy to get high kill participation because you're CCing absolutely everyone under the sun. But I'm looking at that support matchup and thinking, a lot of these plays, a lot of the success of these teams starts with those supports.
Now Sertuss making his way downtown, Shlatan there as well, and we could be looking at potentially a very early dive. It's a decent minion wave built up. Hantera and Rafitta gonna get the teleport in support and get the knock up on to Jactroll. They can be forced to flash away. First blood goes down to Woolite though, with the snipe.
I mean, the 100% rate, we foreshadowed it, and it is. Jactroll does get involved with that one. Gets an assist on the table, and about that whole surviving the 15-minute thing, well, surviving up until 5 minutes hasn't even been achieved by UCAM, as they do hit the ground first.
I will say, though, Hantera was also involved in that first blood.
I mean, technically, yes, by sheer definition, just not to any positive sense. Well done, you made me feel clever.
Does that count in the graphics? I don't know if that counts on the stat.
Sadly, I don't think the API
not.
picks that one up. You can have like a consolation prize. You died, but at least we managed to make it sound good.
I mean, it's good to see Misfits Premier making the aggressive plays, though, because, as you said, they don't want UCAM to be surviving too far into this game, because that's when they have the advantage. When UCAM get to that 20-25 minute mark, they're going to start thinking, well, we can start stepping up. We can start going for these objectives and fighting you because we've got so many great tools. But Jactroll now, you can see he's had his one play in the bot lane. He's like, right, mid lane, let's go. Forcing the flash out of Baca.
Oh, I love the early activity from Jactroll. And of course, Hantera is there to protect, but...
Oh, Woolite's there too.
Wow, everyone's come to the party. Fun for all the family. You love to see it. I love to... We're all very inclusive here. Everyone on the Rift gets to have some fun. And this is Premier. I mean, we praised their early game. We said, okay, cool. UCAM, not really their calling card, not really where they want to keep fighting, but they are being forced to dance to the beat of Misfits Premier's drum. And right now, it's one which is more like a dirge for them, as it's not too happy. It did losing out in the early game, and it is starting off with these strong backbones of these lanes, allowing Misfits Premier to decouple members from those lanes yet again, and to turn up somewhere else unexpectedly.
And at level 6, it's going to be easier for them to do that when they get access to that Ryze ultimate, if they decide to take that ultimate at level 6, just to get some members down towards those dives, towards those roams. And Hadess is already being called into mid lane to cover, as Sertuss, involved in that first kill, just going to be pushing on through and maybe looking to back and pick up a couple of items.
And, you know, a shame that, of course, we don't have Medic to talk about. Hadess speedrunning it into mid, so I hear he's pretty good at that one. As Dino just picks up that wave and allows Baca, don't you laugh at me. That was a good one. I prepared that one. But well, Jactroll going to be the ones with the emphasis on the bot lane yet again. And even though Sertuss doesn't commit to that play, just being off the map, not losing any farm at the same time, adds this unseen knife in the dark hanging somewhere in the shadows, which UCAM have to be aware of. There is a ward, there's a teleport, there's a play.
The alcove might be good coming through from Dreedy. Does he have the Gnar? He has the stun, bringing Jactroll back into the fight. One stone, a punch, but it's Woolite getting the first kill out of nowhere. And as Agresivo's here, he's gonna get the ultimate down, stun onto free. Dreedy cut down. Hadess will follow. And goodness me, that wasn't in the script. Misfits Premier continuing though as Sertuss will chase towards Rafitta. Shlatan here too, and it's gonna be the root, it's gonna be the damage, and goodness me, that's a 4-for-1.
And they send Hadess and crew down the sticks. No counterplay to that one yet again, because this is not the point in the game where UCAM are really set to fight around. It's a good teleport at the start, but they don't catch Woolite. They catch someone who has Aftershock and a W active, and Leona becomes incredibly tanky before items are built up, and survives long enough to turn things around in a huge fashion. One of the problems I have with UCAM even waiting towards the 20 to 25 minute mark is it's all well and good waiting for your Mega Gnar, but doesn't Kennen have that huge teamfight impact again? 3-man slicing Maelstrom tells the story of that one. Huge plays coming out from Agresivoo.
Agresivoo was monstrous in that fight. The ultimate coming through at just the right time in just the right position to catch everyone off guard, and surviving up to the 15-minute mark.
Yeah. Mission failed, we'll get him next time, I believe is the way you phrase that one. And now actually after that, you're looking at where the gold is spread. It's spread fairly evenly. Everyone's got a hand in the rewards that Mr. Premier have been reaping for themselves, but it's gotten so large onto Woolite, who has 3 kills now, that they even have themselves a luxury stopwatch built up at pre-10 minutes. That's not from runes. They just shelled out for it and said, all right, cool, try and get my shutdown, try and get this turnaround. I'm gonna go golden and make sure it's not an easy picking.
And it's not something the teams will necessarily play around, because they won't expect that so much to be there. They can see it in the item. Of course not. But if they're just autopilot, yeah, let's go for this 8-minute, 9-minute fight around First Drac and around Rift Herald, you're not expecting the Varus to go golden on the engage.
Yeah, I absolutely love this buy. It's about playing with the lead respectfully, right? Playing with it and saying that I have the shutdown. This is something which I don't want to give over because that's the way that we can get counter snowballed on, right? It's one of the things which has been added into League of Legends. If you do get very fed, there are mechanics to get that swing going the other way. Not so easy in this game though, and it's not like it's just the Varus which has to be putting out damage. So while they're golden, if you've got that Kennen, got that Ryze, heck, Viego, pretty much everyone but the damn Leona, you've got a lot of problems to worry about as UCAM, even though you can't kill the AD carry.
99 problems, and Rift Herald is now 1. Because
yes,
it's
one
just
of them. It's actually gone to 100 problems. It's gone into triple digits.
And it hasn't been a good early game for UCAM, this game. It's been hard, and it's all been about Misfits Premier being aggressive, making the plays, and responding effectively when UCAM have tried to do the same. Now Shlatan's got that money in pocket, will look to break down some plates, and honestly, with the way that things are going, with the control that Misfits Premier have, are we looking towards potentially even looking to take first tower off this Rift Herald?
I mean, they have gotten the first tower in all of their games so far, and most of the time at 15 minutes, they have something like a 2.5 tower differential, which means that not only are they crushing your towers, they're stopping you from doing the same. And looking at where the waves are right now, looking at the Herald inventory, I'm imagining that script is not going to change with this game. The question is really who's going to benefit from it most. If you give that gold over to Woolite, you might just send them into the stratosphere with the amount of gold they've got.
Well, that's been an absolute monster in these team fights. Has been sniping away left, right, and center. Sertuss needs to be a little bit careful, but has a lot of support. Dives away from the Leona off, and naturally is going to try and get the damage down. Baca picks up the first kill of the fight as Jactroll flashes over the wall to safety. Woolite misses the chains of corruptions. They can't get a re-engage going down. That's just going to be one pick for UCAM.
It's a pick onto Sertuss. It's nice. It's around the dragon spawn, but it's not actually going to lead to a dragon start because, I mean, Woolite is still alive and you don't get to stop all those arrows flying and darkening the sky from above. The kill goes over, I believe that goes to Baca at that point, but that's not really, you know, the biggest swing in gold, not the biggest swing in terms of pressure. You don't get much apart from just that kill. You don't even get yourself a plate from the play.
Gonna have a look at exactly what went down here. Just thinking that he had more help than he did, and actually very nice play from Baca.
It was. I mean, he slams him straight into the wall, no counterplay. Understands the Ryze doesn't have the flash, can't get out of there, and the outro of that play, we did see, of course, that the flash from Hadess was spent as well, and that meant maybe that's just another reason why UCAM thought, right, we just used a lot of ultimates, used a lot of summoners, let's not go towards the dragon. That means that Misfits Premier pick up that one. It's the first neutral of the game outside of that Herald.
Yeah, going to be able to grab that dragon again. Thank you, production, that it's not Cloud Soul. It's going to be
hang on, what is up with this? I feel like this is something that was said on cast yesterday.
Okay, so no, we were talking about this yesterday.
Right.
Who decides what dragon is going to be spawned, right?
I mean, is this the point where... Okay, don't tell me you brought into a cult, Will. Don't tell me you've got some conspiracy.
Production decide what dragon it spawns. And they were spawning as Cloud Dragons, and Cloud Dragon's boring. So we asked them to stop, and we haven't had a Cloud Dragon since. Well, I've been here, anyway.
That's very sad. I mean, I would have thought production would have wanted entertaining games. I'd write a formal letter of complaint saying, oi, give us better dragons. We're not going to have an Ocean Soul this time either.
Yeah, exactly. So it's absolutely fine. Since then, we haven't had an Ocean Soul, or we haven't had a Cloud Soul where I've been watching. So it's all good. It's worked, basically, which
they've just managed
the
to like
point that they designed.
They've just put them onto the ones that you're not on. We're going to have Baca going bot, teleports involved.
Is in a lot of trouble. The Chains of Corruptions land onto Rakan, but he's not the problem. The flash will get him away from the Sett, and now their support, he might want to turn around. Isn't able to do so. Hadess coming in from the wings, spotted out on a ward, and forces Misfits Premier to back away.
Yeah, slick flash coming out from Woolite. Understands that if he flashes early, there might be a flash face breaker to follow. So times it, wins the mind game in a very dangerous situation, and that shutdown remains safe for yet another fight.
UCAM are not lying down in this fight, and actually the gold lead is not too significant considering how much we were singing the praises of Misfits Premier and how much we were bemoaning the missed opportunities that UCAM hadn't been able to respond to. They're only 1,500 gold down at the 12-minute mark. Yes, the Rift Herald is going to be dropped to try and give a bit more oomph as Rafitta going to be engaged on the tower. Hantera is here, gets the charm down onto Woolite. He's not going to be able to shoot, takes a lot of damage. Teleport coming in behind as well. This could be a very bad fight for the French team as Dreedy dives on into the alcove and picks up the shutdown on to the Varus. Back in here looking for Jactroll, will be able to find him. Can he find his way over the wall? I don't know if he's going to be able to, as Hadess gets the ultimate just to secure the second kill of the fight. Easy as that for UCAM. Pick up 2 and stop the push.
They do. They're going to lose some plates in both solo lanes, but you know that shutdown on Woolite we're talking about, how that stopwatch was so important for maybe denying that going over. Well, it didn't lead to much in that fight. And UCAM, this is a team, of course, which had to bring in Hantera late into the split, but he has been on the forefront of so many of these plays. Once again, finding his target, finding Woolite, making sure the fight gets off to a very good start. UCAM turning on the afterburners and starting to even up that gold deficit.
And now the problem here lies, the stopwatch wasn't used, so it's still an option for Woolite, and it was good discipline to be like, yeah, I'm dead.
Oh, don't use it.
And there's no one coming to save me. Like, let's just.
You were dead to rights. Good not using it.
Yeah, it's very good to see that one. And plates have now fallen off. Turn your attention to the top of the screen. Misfits Premier still have that gold lead. It's still pretty similar because the kills were traded for plates. And Woolite actually might look to break this one down.
Looks like so that's going to be the first turret local gold going over to the Varus. Some more gold in pocket. Already have themselves that mythic. Of course, we're a long time away from going for Prowler's Claw onto our poke mythic items for the AD carries. As I said, it's going to be that Duskblade for the extra ability haste, flinging out even more arrows. Oh joy! And they are very, very strong now. Now the question is, where do you move this Varus? Where do you utilize it? Are you just going to chuck it in mid, siege down, and look for a play in the enemy jungle? Because when you have, the ability to cross walls with the Realm Warp, and you have the Heartbreaker Strike as well, Misfits Premier have some very dangerous ways to start brawling about in the jungle.
Top lane has been pretty quiet since that initial huge play down in the bot side. Agresivoo and Dreedy just kind of exchanging blows as the rest of the teams move towards mid and look to make a play potentially. If someone can be caught out by Jactroll, if Hantera can get a big engage, we could see a decent fight here.
Well, there's no cleanse on Rafitta, who has been the core member for so many of these fights from UCAM. I believe he's at a very high kill participation of 72%. He's going to be involved in this one again.
Baca being locked up, gets a huge shield and will be able to dump away as Hantera gets the charm, gets the damage. Sertuss running under tower, but it will be the Rakan who's the focus of Shlatan. But in the rest of the fight, Agresivoo goes massive, picks up two, locks up a third. Hadess goes down. It's all about the Kennen. It's all about Agresivoo. It's all about Misfits Premier.
Agresivoo has the Kennen and starts wailing on it. Gets into the mid-game fights. Okay, we talked about surviving up until the 15-minute mark, and actually UCAM, credit to them, did all right as far as the teams in this group have managed to match up to them. But when you're comparing the Gnar to the Kennen, we might have mentioned a little bit earlier, one of them doesn't have to wait on that mega Gnar bar. I never mentioned that. A lot of the damage is already done beforehand through the hard work of Sertuss on that Ryze. And Hantera, though he has had so many good engages in the past, just cannot get enough done before the counter engage comes in with such style from the top lane.
So easy for Agresivoo there, makes it look effortless, and the second Rift Herald did go over to Shlatan on the back of that play. So once again, as UCAM look like they might be stabilizing, might be coming back into this one, is another huge Kennen play that sends them to their place, and it looks like the Dragon could be contested here as UCAM don't want to give it up.
And it felt like, those big team fights where, of course, K-Core came back against Giants after they had that early game deficit. Of course, this is not even the same situation. It's Misfits Premier that have the early game advantage, except they are still pulling out these big plays just as UCAM tried to stabilize, just as you were saying. It's going to be that second Dragon going down the Misfits Premier. Going to find out our soul, and it will be mountains. We're going to get a couple more bits of terrain popping up and a couple more bits of resists on the table for both of these teams.
Just keeping my eyes on what's going to happen next. What are these two teams wanting to do? How do Misfits Premier push this lead? Because they had a lead that was slighter than this, but then they allowed UCAM to be the ones who made the play, got back into it before that massive fight. How do Misfits Premier do the next play?
I mean, I see a Herald in inventory. Normally that's a good start. Helps you get rid of some of these pesky objectives like a mid lane outer tower. And once that starts going down, you start looking at the ability to go into the jungle again. We already talked about how actually it's this is a very dangerous composition for Misfits Premier to fight in the jungle against, particularly when you do have abilities to cross the jungle and start controlling choke points. Actually, Misfits Premier, see the tower is so low, and the fact that UCAM don't have maybe the best wave clear on call right now. And maybe they think they don't even need to blow that Herald to try and take it down.
They're holding on to it for now. Shlatan actually moving away, and it's Woolite being left a little bit on his lonesome and he can't step up. Dreedy gonna be the one who's gonna be the victim. There's the ultimate, 2 members over the wall, has the heartbreak over, and actually the Gnar is running. It's not his jungle he's running into, but he's looking to waste some time or maybe even escape. And Woolite turning on up, the chains of corruption go wide, the slow doesn't though. What could Dreedy do? Is there a way out of this situation for him? I'm not sure, but can he maybe look to turn this one around? Does a decent amount of damage to Woolite, who has to be careful, but the snipe, it looked close, but it really wasn't, and Sertuss can pick up the tower as well.
Yeah, maybe aiming to do a bit of a Darien, you know, that old Season 2-3 top laner that would just run into the enemy base and waste as much time as possible. Can't really do that at that point, though. Woolite chooses the correct path to go get and close them down. Does waste the ult somewhat, misses that one, but gets the kill nonetheless. And UCAM, once again, caught a little bit out of position. And we were just talking about, hey, isn't there a really good ability here for Misfits Premier to start tearing open the map, using their semi-globals, using their ability to cross walls? Exactly what they did there.
Another very nice play. It was not optimal. Chains of Corruption landing tends to help in those situations.
Yeah, I've heard that.
A couple of those
do you often find landing skill shots is good? I find it hard myself.
I don't do that. We don't do that here when it comes to skill shot landing, but these two teams are certainly going to want to put down as much damage as possible. A lot of decent poke coming through, so taking these later objectives is going to be quite difficult, even though Mrs. Premier have such a nice position and will be dropping that Rift Herald mid later than we expected, but they might get the tower before it charges anyway.
They might get the second one actually now from this, but they pushed quite far beyond their vision line. Hadess has an angle, doesn't have flash.
Yeah, he's going to go towards, though, gets the catch, but it's only onto one as Woolite manages to get away. Jactroll is the only focus, but they will be able to get onto Woolite eventually. But they've already lost the first kill of the fight. Nice jump shot from Shlatan, but he's just gone a little bit too far. Agresivoo this time is defensive, but the stun is still massive. Dreedy gets a shutdown, but I think he only gets one as he is taken down. Sertuss with the damage, but he oversteps, goes gold, and gets the heal as Woolite looks for the snipe, can't get it onto Rafitta, who will be able to dive away. The tower will be forfeit, but at least UCAM only lose 3.
They only lose 3, but it could have gone so badly for Misfits Premier. They play a game with the dice, play a game with the coin flips, and luckily it works out in their favor because Hadess, well, he misses the flash at the start of that play. Woolite, of course, flashes out of the ensuing ultimate regardless. Gets closed down by Hantera, but while all of this is happening, it feels like UCAM are just a little bit disconnected because that is a fantastic showstopper. It's a very good Mega Gnar. Honestly, the Diana going in too early is probably what spells doom for UCAM at this point, because if all of them happen at the same time, that is a clean wipe by my eyes. As it stands the other way, though, a lot of kills going over to the side of Misfits Premier, and they only lose 1 for it.
So much damage coming out of Sertuss in that last team fight as well. It looked like Agresivoo was the one pulling all the strings, but this Ryze has been doing so much work because the ultimate is one thing coming out of the Kennen, locking everyone up. I'm going to have to hold that point because Baca is now the focus. He goes to half health, but does have that massive shield. Remember, Halfbreaker lands onto him, will be able to get it out before he dies, but die he will as the Sett will roll forward. It's Viego, though. Don't be fooled, as Dragon up in 30 could be close.
Actually, there's 4 people still left around from UCAM, potentially looking for a pick. But once again, Mrs. Premier first to the punch, first one to decide the play. And it's all well and good trying to face check with the Sett, but the amount of CC at this point in the game is enough to really pin someone in place long enough for one Varus to come in, for Shlatan to get right on top of your face and take them out of the fight. Of course, that's now a couple of ultimates down for this dragon fight. I'll have to see if UCAM are emboldened by that, because of course it was just the one pick, and there is a teleport left on Sett who still has flash, still has the ultimate, but it looks like Super League team not really emboldened enough to go for a fight.
Not super interested in going for this 3rd dragon, which is okay for now. 4th dragon giving over Mountain Soul. Less optimal, so they're going to have to keep their eyes on that one in 5 minutes time. Dreedy going to be forced away by the teleporting Agresivoo, but not having too much support means that he can't go super aggressive, and Hantera stepping up towards the Gnar will mean that the teleport was just to clear out the wave.
So we have ourselves a lull point again as the ebb and flow of the game reaches a bit of a low tide. Mrs. Premier, of course, hitting a lot of important item spikes. We have Void Staff plus Stopwatch in for Agresivoo, which means that the next big fight with the flash available too. This Kennen is, you know, surrounded by such a mystery around them whenever they're off the map. If you don't see the Kennen, you do not want to be anywhere near Fog of War for UCAM, because if there is a Kennen there, your fight is over. That's it. That's good. Goodbye, leave. It's a bit of the Gene Wilder experience where, like, you lose. Good day, sir. And Mrs. Premier will be looking to sweeten the deal a little bit with all of the rest of the items coming in too. Starix coming in for Shlatan. You've got even the, so not Starix, the Starix and the Seraphs. They sound very similar. For the mid-jungle CB2 of Mrs. Premier. These are big, big ticket items. And now 23 minutes in, Baron is, of course, a very realistic objective for them to start baiting and forcing down.
And as you say, the Kennen being there causes disaster for UCAM, and they're fighting over objectives, so the Kennen can just always be there, because they know where they're going to want to take these plays. They know that if UCAM don't show up to a Baron, they just take the Baron. You can see Mrs. Premier actually just keeping control of this river. They're moving up and down, picking up as much gold as they can possibly grab. Looking for a little bit of a reset now to grab these items. But could they force through a Baron, just brute force?
Depends on the Narbar, of course. That's going to be the big thing to watch out for, because once again, we do have a big wombo to keep track of. Rakan looking to start it off. But what we saw in that mid lane fight was that it was just a little uncoordinated. And even then it got close. It got very, very close. So we'll have to see, even with the extra gold in tow, it's an 8,000 gold deficit. Gold can be misleading, but still that's a very important number because it's quite big at this point. If you do start that Baron, I guess the one thought process from Mrs. Premier is, hang on, isn't this the one way we lose the game right now?
The Chase Corruption once again go wide, but Woolite still feeling confident to step up, and Hantera going half health. He's going to be forced to potentially consider going back to base, but Mrs. Premier can rock up to the Baron pit and maybe look to start this one up. And now it's the case of, can there be a contest? What can Hades do? What can Baca do? What can this Gnar do to try and keep the fight from going disastrously wrong? Mrs. Premier grab themselves the Skull of Crab, but members of UCAM are coming through. That's a lot. As the catch comes in from Baca, it's going to be massive as Mrs. Premier around. They lose one. Agresivoo is going to be sent into the backline of his own team. Not going to get too many stuns, but it's still looking to get killed. Shlatan moving forward. Agresivoo gets the kill onto Hantera. It looked good for UCAM initially, but they couldn't get that finishing blow, and as such, they lose the fight.
But the teleports are coming back too.
It could get worse. It could just get worse for them.
And again, oh, the Realm Ward's coming in, adding insult to injury.
Hades trying to get the kill before he goes down. Agresivoo to the left of him, Shlatan to the right, and there he is going down. I don't know my left and right, don't worry about it, everyone, because the Baron can still be forfeit. Sertuss is going to step towards Rafitta. There's not that much help on this Ezreal. How much time can he waste looking towards the tower? Actually hitting a decent amount. Sertuss gets the slow, but not going to be able to get a stun flashing into bush, and the Ryze needs to be so careful as one more shut down for Rafitta. It doesn't do too much. The Baron actually gonna be stopped.
That's an incredible hero play at the end of it. I mean, Mrs. Premier deal with the absolute wombo. It looks terrible again. You're looking at it thinking, oh heck, that's a lot of AoE. You get that True Shot Barrage coming in. Even the Haymaker goes and rakes across the entire team. It gets even better when, of course, Kennen doesn't land all of the damage on the other side of it. This is about as good as a fight as you can ask for. And even with that, Woolite lives. Sertuss lives for a long enough time as well that though UCAM are happy with the damage they've done, it's not enough on that kill column to make it last in the fight afterwards.
So if that's best case scenario for a fight for UCAM, and they lost it, but they stopped the Baron, how can they make themselves a better best case scenario?
It's almost like the best case scenario is technically what you're like, that's the top end of what you're expecting. It's difficult from that point, right? Because I think what you're hoping at that point is a bit of a mind flip from Mr. Premier. Maybe they don't use their globals well. Maybe you get yourself a numbers advantage. And I think honestly, you are once again looking at Hantera, looking at this person who has had so many highlight reels. You're looking for the Rakan to find the godlike engages. You know, you can invoke so many different moments throughout time, some in this exact position. This is Jactroll trying to start things off, but FLICKR goes wide though.
FLICKR parts the UCAM roster, but doesn't pick any of them up. And now Mrs. Premier just moving in towards the Baron once again. They've got a lot of vision, but they're going to start it up. Could look to just try and rush it down. The members of UCAM are in the river already. They're looking for the contest. Keep your eyes on Hantera. Gnar just going to be picking up the solo dragon for UCAM. Deny that soul point as the ultimate coming on through. Just hits Agresivoo, no one else, as Baron goes to 4.5k. They've already given up their opportunity for the Dragon Soul at this juncture. And Mrs. Premier give up on the Baron as well. They're going to move away towards the enemy jungle. Agresivoo wanting to start something up, but cannot find it. That was maybe a questionable play from the LFL side.
It was a stare down, you know, they're waiting for UCAM to blink, wait for them to commit to a play and get themselves lost in yet another team fight where they can't quite execute upon it. Of course, Misfits Premier themselves don't want to start the fight in case they get counter-engaged. If they are the ones which are on the front foot trying to go forward with that, without the Solar Flare, it's quite difficult to lock things down in a way which prevents UCAM from finding that counter-engage. Right there, Dreedy had Mega Gnar, had the teleport, had a flash as well. Lots of ways to get into that backline and make an absolute mess of the backline. What else is a fun play to make, though? It's making the Realm Walk into the Baron Pit and starting it again.
Well, they're going to be caught out on the ward once again, so UCAM have information. Teleport coming in from the Sett is going to break up the Misfits Premier team. They can't decide what to do. The dunk comes down onto Shlatan, and now Baca will be able to get a massive shield. So much damage coming up through. Shlatan needs to be very, very careful as the Shlatan goes onto Woolite finally. As Agresivoo chased away, they can do nothing. Jactroll also deleted, and now it's UCAM with the turnaround looking towards this Baron.
And Misfits Premier, they fumble again. They don't find themselves the clean play. And actually, Baca surviving at the very start, using the Haymaker to turn things around, turns the fight with it. UCAM outlast the early storm, and they will ride it through those heavy waves into a Baron.
5-man Baron. UCAM definitely getting themselves into a position. The best case scenario just got a whole lot better, everybody, as they can look to grab the sieges. They can look to take some of this standing gold. And hey, maybe look to start getting onto a winning footing.
Absolutely, and particularly with that extra dragon down too, which means that you're no longer facing down, having to compete for a dragon while you've got your Baron buff. UCAM can get some serious gold off of these standing structures. They don't have any mid lane turrets to take note, but finally they can take down that mid lane outer turret as Dreedy does push in towards that. This is suddenly an ability now to get yourself back onto more even footing. We've seen how they've been team fighting even without that. This is a good sign for the Superliga team.
It's a great sign, and for the LFL, question mark pings must be coming out internally. Just the idea of how are we staring down the Baron buff? How are we staring down no Dragon Soul for us for the next 2.5 minutes? The game was in their hands, but a couple of missteps. And this is exactly what you said. The playing around the globe was wrong, playing the macro wrong, and now they're going to look to try and catch out Dreedy, but he's going to run in the other direction. Can UCAM find him before it's too late? Baca's already there as the Gnar will hop skip away. Shlatan can't find the kill, and actually...
Oh, now they're behind enemy lines!
They need to be careful. Decent ultimate coming out. Sertuss going golden. Jactroll needs to survive, but Sertuss is already dead. They're going to be able to chase down Leona as well, slowed up and killed as they get 2 easy picks. UCAM with Baron on 5, pushing into 3 members of Misfits Premier. Is the LFL finally going to stumble?
And it's a bridge too far, a realm warp too far. UCAM still have the Baron buff. I don't know if they're bold enough to stick around. They certainly are positioning as though they are. Have to be careful of those arrows raining down from above, but Dreedy starts the play off, survives, and UCAM come and rally to their defense.
What is going to happen in this game? It looked locked in for Misfits Premier, but UCAM never said die. They kept fighting strong, and in this replay, you can see them do it again.
And well played by Jactroll to get that extra distance. They make things a little more interesting than they would have thought, but as soon as that Realm Warp play fails and you don't have all exits covered, should have really paid attention to the safety video at the start of this one, Flight. UCAM are in the best position they can be. They get to separate out the fight, stop Misfits Premier from using some of their advantage and holding someone in place with a Ryze DPSing you down. They close out the targets that they want to for the first time in a little while.
And you know what? Rafitta, the man on your screen right now, he's doing a lot of work in these late game team fights. The damage coming out is very, very nice. And it's all well and good holding people in place, but you have to have someone who's able to perform the finishing blow. And the Ezreal has certainly been able to do so in this game. Still not on gold parity just yet, but looking for the game on the Jactroll, chains of corruption land onto Dreedy. He goes golden teleport coming on through. Baca's looking to make a play. Can Misfits Premier do anything here? Sertuss is supposed to flash away. Agresivoo gets the ultimate, but it doesn't hit too many members, as it looks like once again Rafitta is untouched in the back with Agresivoo running for his life. As a nice stun from Dreedy catches out 2, forces the resurrection onto Viego, and UCAM get away.
so close yet again, because what we're not seeing, which we have been so used to in these fights, is a Viego reset. The first kill does not go down, and UCAM are playing around their correct ranges. They're not allowing things to get snarled up by an overdive, not going past the front line. They're going front to back, and they've got enough threat onto the Ryze, onto the Viego themselves as well, to stop them from bursting someone out in a quick turnaround and making sure that fight would run away for Misfits Premier. UCAM, I am so impressed by their poise and their ability to choose their own fights.
And they've been doing that the past few, and are they favored in this game now?
It has the eerie feeling to it, doesn't it? Because even though you've got this Kennen that's so very strong, this Varus that Woolite is piloting to such high effect as well, UCAM are starting to find direction, starting to find their own feet in these team fights. And while in the earlier ones we were saying, well, okay, maybe it's not as coordinated as we would like, this is looking very threatening now. And we could see the region who has only lost to the LFL dealing a strike back towards the only undefeated region.
It's tense, you know? Baron's up in a minute and 10. I thought this game was going to be done by now, but UCAM, they're not interested in proving anyone right after the first 15-20 minutes of this game. And hey, they might not survive the first 10 minutes particularly well, but the fight back has been real. Look at the gold graph. They were dead and buried, but it's almost even.
And again, there is such a story to this UCAM team. Of course, they changed support so late into the split. Plows were stepping down due to medical issues, meaning that they couldn't play. Having to sub in Hantera and finding a new lease on life sometime into their playoffs. It took them a while. But coming into EUM, Amazon EUM, they're sat here now with a dominant position, you might say. I mean, gold be damned, dragons be damned, they're winning the team fights. And it's so inspiring to see from this team, which seems to have such a high ceiling to give us.
Absolutely. The question here is, Misfits Premier, they don't want to go down without a fight, and they know they could have done a little bit more at some points in this game. Now they're going to be moving towards the Baron. The issue for them last time around, and where things started going truly wrong, was around this Baron. They weren't playing this objective correctly. You've got to say, with the champions that they had in the position they were in, can they do this one a little bit better?
And part of it, again, is one of my, well, I guess one of my least favorite subjects in school, but one of my favorites in League of Legends, geography. Because if you're on red side, you're stuck in that Baron pit, yeah, kind of awkward to disengage through all of that wombo combo. I mean, you don't have a barred tunnel to get out the back of the pit or anything like that. You don't even have an arcane shift to get your AD carry out to safety. And even though your Baron damage at this point is significant, you have a Ryze with very strong damage. Let's see how damage comes onto Baca.
Oh, lots of CC being thrown, but actually no follow-up means that he's just going to be able to wander away, not even particularly damaged. And that's a couple of resources, the Solar Flare especially. You don't want to be blowing just before Baron comes up.
We said the same around that first Baron fight, which went wrong, about the Leona ult being down and how that was important. You can't lock down that first target, can't get that first reset for the Viego, which has, of course, been something which UCAM have played around so sublimely so far. Yet again, maybe a show that Misfits Premier are looking a bit rattled, a bit unseated, a bit unused to being at this kind of point, because they're not really finding the plays that they would like to with this composition.
Agresivoo needs to be careful. Half health, as Kennen is still super crucial in these situations. Back getting everything up by the Chains of Corruption, but used to disengage rather than engage now, as UCAM have the inside track towards this mid lane. Of course, remember, Dragon up in 1 minute 15. It's still Soul if Misfits Premier can get it, but I haven't seen them be able to push up that far in quite some time.
And much like the other Super League or LFL matchup that we cast, the Carmine Core Vodafone Giants match, this is not a fast-paced game at this point, because you can see the internal calculations going on. You can see the machinations of both of these teams going level after level. We do have a fight on the top side as Hantera's caught.
He's trying to get away though. He's already ulted, gets stunned up, but will look to dive back. How much time can he waste? I don't think it's going to be too much.
Oh, look at mid, they're pushing.
Evo goes in, but they're going to look to try and grab as much as they can mid, but they might have to peel off to stop this Baron buff. It's all about decision making here as members of UCAM look to crack into the base.
Oh, don't tell me we've got a base race.
Look to take it down. The Baron and the
stop it. He's TPing to stop the backs.
He's trying to stop the ports. Can UCAM do this on the back? So Agresivoo has found his way back to the base, back to the fence. Huge ultimate coming through from Kennen. How long can he waste? He's taking down the minion wave. Dreedy manages to punch him down, but they cannot backdoor. Baron on 4 as UCAM are forced away.
And suddenly the dam breaks, the waterfalls forth. The Misfits Premier, they come out ahead, they get the Baron, and the Kennen gets to recall. And now we have 2 members dead of this Spanish squad for the soul fight. Shlatan is here, he has a GA, they're not gonna be able to deny him.
Diving on through, he stows away the dragon, he gets Dragon Soul, and UCAM are forced to back away. Disaster for the Spanish team. The game has been thrown right back into the LFL court.
Calculation be damned, the time for action is now. Shlatan still deathless on the Viego. It takes down the soul. We have to go back and recap whatever the hell just happened. It starts with this pick onto Hantera. Well, just as we were saying, these angles, choosing the terrain, being calculating was so important. Hantera gets spotted out, going for one of these long looping flanks. Credit to UCAM though, they find themselves a very quick response to saying, all right, okay, we can find ourselves a play to maybe end this game. But Baca goes towards the turret, but I believe he's seen teleporting just as just as that Kennen gets that reset. However, he does stop the backs, all well and good. Doesn't manage to get that steal. Imagine how crazy it would have been if that was a steal from that point. But the real tale of this is Kennen being able to get back, clear that wave, and stop the death push.
40 health on the Baron.
Ridiculous.
You couldn't make this up. This is absolute nonsense between these two
We're not allowed normal matchups
No,
in this regional rivalry. We're not allowed it.
matches.
It has to be dramatic.
Oh my word, the wave's gonna be not even touched by that ultimate from Rafitta at this stage, as the bot lane will be the focus of Misfits Premier. They're gonna be able to take down this tower at the very least, and we'll hope to push on for more. UCAM trying to defend with everything they've got. The game, it was lost, then it was won. Now it's who knows at this point, because right, Nymaera, who's winning this game? Come on, out of it.
The fans. I can't even cop out like that. In this kind of game, so difficult to tell. I feel like with the Baron, this is going to change the weighting of the map, and particularly the vision which they can play around. I think Mrs. Premier with that Baron might have broken the back, broken the spine of this game, which was in such a tenuous balance. Have to see how they contain themselves in these lane zones, stop themselves getting flanked. You can see there was a ping from the blue team actually towards just behind that red buff. And there is a Gnar available.
Where's this ult going? It's going mid. They want to just change the face of this siege. They're going to be able to take down the first inhibitor tower for them of the game. This fight will be able to kick off. Jactroll trying to stumble away, but gets pulled out by so much CC, and he goes low, but he survives the Woolite with the snipe onto Hadess. And now the damage coming up through. Rafitta trying to get away as much as he can, and he will get away. But now, at least Shlatan's still unkillable as he dives forward, but he's going to be forced to take the GA out. Baca, that's not the side of the map you really want to be on right now. He's on the tower, but I don't really think that Misfits Premier care. They dive through, Woolite gets another, and they return to their minion wave.
And that could have been an absolute suicidal realm warp. We see the arrow land, but it's eat out of.
Yeah, everyone gets away from the chains of corruption this time around, as Misfits Premier 4v3 in the enemy base can easily take the second inhibitor tower. They're going to try and focus the inhibitor tower as well, and should be able to do it. 15 seconds on Diana, 30 seconds on the Sett, but Dreedy's going mad. He wants to get involved now as Agresivoo manages the proto belt away.
Sertuss, he's stunned!
But Dreedy, he gets the ultimate down, and the Ryze might be forfeit here. He goes to the shutdown from Rafitta, and Misfits Premier, they're forced away.
They are, and with the Ryze dead for a full minute, with the midway being stacked. No, Rafitta's caught! No! He's caught! You see what UCAM want. They want to go towards mid. They see that the play is on. Double teleport, super minions in the base. It's only a damn Leona wave clearing. That could have been a death blow from the Spanish squad, but with the AD carry courts, it brings us back to this oh so tense, oh so exciting neutral scenario.
Elder Dragon's up in 2 minutes. I didn't know we were going to get to this point in this game, but hey, 42 minutes in, here we are.
Holy heck. There's only so many times you can scream at these players before everything starts to go a little bit numb. You start adjusting to the new normal. Mrs. Premier getting
now,
back out onto the map. This is our life now. Welcome to the absolute clown town, the absolute circus, because we have all the entertainment. Roll up, roll up. Hope you're enjoying the show.
I'm just stressed, you know. I'm not even playing. This is tense on a knife edge. Any mistake now could lead to the end of the game. And both of these teams have shown that they have mistakes in them. And this is the first time we've really seen this from Misfits Premier.
And you know what the best thing is? This is the first time they're playing. We get to see this again.
Oh, we
get to see this again in a few days. How wonderful is that?
Oh, this is one of those, you think it's a later round matchup, but it's absolutely just the group stages.
That's it. And it's incredible that, of course, in this tournament with so many regions with stacked talent, we get to see this right from the start through to the end. Talking, of course, one of those interviews earlier from Maxwell saying, hey, I really hope that maybe we meet the LFL teams later into the tournament so we can improve and give them a good show, give them a good game. Hantera looking for a good engage. Pops that Shurelia's. Nothing to be found just yet. We're waiting once again. The bowstring is taut. It is knocked the arrow into the string. Yet to be loosed.
Baron's on the menu. 20 seconds on the Elder Dragon. Are we trading these objectives? Are we just gonna leave both of them? What's gonna occur?
Well, looking at where the vision is right now, the bottom side of this map is completely dark. The lights are out. No one is ready to go there. It might come down to a pick again. It might come down to it. We're also going to see what happens with the Chains of Corruption, a Diner Ultimate. I think that both teams will back themselves to find that first pick. Jactroll is off of vision. The wards in that brush have been disabled. And once again, we're left with a startlingly low amount of actual information on the enemy teams. Misfits going as 5 men, but the Gnar isn't there. They're going for it.
Stun coming off through to Baca. The Gnar is going to try and get into the fight. How long can members stay alive? The Chains of Corruption will land this time. It's Baca gets the shield down. So much damage, but no one falling just yet. As Misfits Premier forced down river, but they're forced towards the Elder Dragon.
But this is exactly what UCAM have to do and have done to success. They don't let the first kill come in, no matter the cost. Is it going to cost them the Elder, though?
What can Hadess do here? Teleport coming on through. UCAM don't want to let this one go down. 4,000 on the objective as Misfits Premier need to watch Hadess on the fight. Damage going through. It's a huge engage as Woolite picks up the first kill of the fight, but then they're forced to back away. Hantera falls as Agresivoo playing Baca, getting so much work done. Misfits Premier have done it, surely. The Elder Dragon goes down. The teleports come through. The LFL, they stay strong.
The balance is broken. The tightrope walker falls from their lofty perch. Misfits Premier march to the base.
There goes Nexus Tower 1. There goes Nexus Tower 2. And it was back and forth. It was touch and go. But at the end of the day, was it ever really in doubt? Misfits Premier remain undefeated.
Was it in doubt? Yes! Yes,
yeah,
it was in doubt.
For long periods, wasn't it?
For like a good 25 minutes, my heart was in my throat, sat on the edge of my seat, and what a wonderful matchup again we have between these two teams. A worthy victory, a wonderful victory from this Misfits Premier squad. I am left in awe, absolute awe.
I just praise to UCAM first. Let's go with them because they lost out on that game, but that comeback in the mid game going towards the late, the decision making was brave and oftentimes it paid off. Big things coming from this roster as well in this tournament, surely.
Yeah. You have to think so at this point. I mean, if you can go the distance against the LFL first seed, it's good signs to you. Really good signs. Signs of life. And if you are a Spanish fan, yes, you are allowed to be disheartened by this. I think that kind of game probably allows it. But this isn't knockout stage just yet, and actually every single Spanish team is sat in a good position within their groups. So we're likely to see this in a best of series. Wouldn't that be a treat? We have to go through so many different team fights in here. I don't even know how to start on all this one.
It's Agresivoo. The whole of the first 15, 20 minutes of the game is all about this Kennen because every team fight looked pretty good, pretty even. Yeah. And then Agresivoo was like, what if I just stunned up and killed 3 people?
Well, even in the bot lane, the very first fight we had with the teleport down, it started with Agresivoo and it ended with Agresivoo in such tumultuous fashion, such entertaining fashion. We saw the big wombo combos come out of UCAM, but things started turning actually when they realized, what happens if we don't go for the big multi-man plays? What happens if we actually just stop the first kill coming in, peel back after that point? And it worked for them for a while. It denied the Viego the perfect team fights, but Didn't last for the whole game, and sadly will not lead to them coming away with a win. But Misfits Premier proving their class, proving their true level, and I am so excited to see the rest of these teams' games.
But they come out of this game bloodied for the first time really this tournament. They look scared. There were times when mistakes were being made, and this is the final team
Look
fight
at this
where
play.
it looked so good, but Agresivoo once again.
He just slips out of vision. It's a half second. It's a couple of seconds where he just gets over the wall, flashes in for the extra distance closed as he catches them with like that counter punch, slips in between their guard, gets a right hook right into the face, into the full backline, and what a game from that Kennen. Absolutely sensational stuff.
It was, I mean, everyone was playing backs to the wall for long periods of that one. Woolite in the early game was unplayable on the Varus, but Rafitta on the Ezreal as well in those later team fights, completely unplayable. And now I'm left wondering, like, this game, we get it again, as you said. We get it again in the group stages.
That's the best thing. We get to do this
can't wait.
all over again.
It's going to be so good. So many exciting matchups that we've seen so far here at the Amazon European Masters. There's close matches, there's stomps, all of these teams doing their absolute all they can to qualify into those knockouts and best of series. Let's have a look at the standings just to see where we are right now in our groups, because it's crazy.
It is. Of course, we do see that coming call. This is Premier undefeated alongside the Movistar Riders, who is the only other undefeated team, the only one that isn't French in this case. But I think it's fair to say that though you do have these 0-3 teams at the bottom, they have not looked hopeless. And though there is a chance now that some of them do go 0-6, I mean, particularly looking at Matchco, actually, such heartbreak for them alongside some of those games from, as we saw just there, UCAM, Mousesports, and some of their losses too. It has been a game of inches. You fight for those inches, but it doesn't make you feel that much better about the 0-3.
I think you have to say the same about Zero Tenacity as well in Group C.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's been heartbreaking, some of their losses, but Group C is so exciting. 2-1 tied, all three of the other teams in there as we go to our schedule. And note, schedule on Saturday. We're not here tomorrow.
We take a day break.
Don't turn up tomorrow. There's nothing for you here because we won't be here. But starting with K-Corp against the Giants, oh my word.
Oh, no, just a small matchup, one which I'm sure no one has any interesting words to say or any big teams to support. Nothing about that happens, right? Anyway, that should be an absolutely huge matchup, as are all of these on that day. We have the whole conclusion of that group, and I would imagine it could go down to the very last game. This is going to be tightly run stuff.
I think you have to assume that it will do, because everyone is playing so well. And as you said, Matchco, they're 0-3. They have a chance to play upset here. We've seen teams qualify out of groups with a 3-3 standing. If they can just go into Saturday on a new level, then things could be sensational for them, and they could look to get some massive upsets. But we're not going to find out for a couple of days. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Amazon European Masters. From myself, Viperoon, from Nymaera, from the production team behind the scenes, we really appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Can go for a stopwatch predicting a fight as Odie lands the hook, and meanwhile Venter's getting a little bit chilly. Odie being chased down, Kazuki finds the gold card, they get the shield off, the barrel flank is there, Odie's dead, they found their opening to pull themselves back into the game. A double kill has been picked up for Odie, but it's just going oh so wrong.
Vanderlook's actually taking a lot of damage from Pulse, and Pulse pretty Kingslayer's available.
He flashes over! What an outplay by Phantomless with the Kingslayer heal!
Bit of an interesting kick there, but the Nature's Grasp has been used, and the fights are going to break out. They've got the chance.
Oh, man, flag!
Slicing Melter on the backline from Manly.
Locking everybody down! It's a cluster and it's a tower! Rough Jessica to Paulson! Paulson finds the shockwave! Securing a double kill! Manly gets the triple kill!
Rux is now knocked up by the quickness, will just lose his life as they do look for the lockdown on to the Syndra. Dale's overload's doing a lot of damage
outside of the wall!
Definitely risk and engaging. Now the carries are split from the team.
Jumped into, they found the carries! Cataraj is used, the kick comes down, Beast blocked up, Beast still alive! He's doing it! Pride in the middle of everyone! Here's the rail block! Here comes the cavalry!
If you get to freeze the wave outside a tower, what do? You do this, you die.
kill Essex, I think, is the plan, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Rika picks up the kill, and actually the engage coming on through. Nice ultimate catching on the Stimuli. He's going to stumble, he's still alive for a second or two longer. He's actually going to be able to get a kill on the Jojo, and Ivy fight goes down. 2 Jackpot chased away on one side of the fight. The rest of the fight is going disastrously for Anno. Knockup, ace, damage coming down. As Hantera gets the chop, gets the damage. Sertuss running under tower, but it will be the Rakan who's the focus of Shlatan. But in the rest of the fight, Agresivoo goes massive, picks up 2, locks off a third. Hades goes down.